Hi, I'm Lauren from tastypc.tv. Today I'm doing the second video on the Alphacool NexXxoS Cool Answer 360 DDC Kit. I realise there's a lot of people out there that want to get into water cooling but aren't really sure where to start, and I think that a pre-made kit is a great way to just jump straight in. Now, the first video I did on this kit, I just did kind of an unboxing of all the parts. I'll put the link to that in annotation, but also in the description below. And this video, I'm just going to be installing the loop on camera, and then doing a performance test to see what temperatures I get. Now, I'm not an expert, but if you are new to water cooling, then hopefully this should give you a rough idea of the installation process, but also the temperatures you can expect to get. So let's get started. I'm going to be fitting the loop inside my 800D. I'm sorry it looks a little messy. I'm using it as a kind of temporary test bench at the moment. The first thing that I'm going to be fitting is the water block, and the kit comes with the Alphacool NexXxoS XP3 Light Edition block. This water block doesn't actually come with a backplate, it just comes with 4 screws that you use to be able to secure the water block into place. Unfortunately, I do film and paste like a spoon, but I always seem to get even coverage, so it's not something that I worry about. Next, I'm going to fit the radiator to the case, and the kit comes with the Alphacool NexXxoS XT45 full copper 360mm radiator, and I'm going to be fitting to it the 3 120mm Yate loom fans that came in the kit in pull configuration. Now, the easiest way I found to do this is if you fit the fans first by just putting in 2 screws that you've got lying around diagonally, then fit the radiator, then take out the screws holding the fans in place and replacing them on the rest of the radiator screws. I'm sorry that the lighting's really bad here, I just keep leaning in front of the light, it's just casting a shadow on the case. Now I'm going to fit the pump to the res. The kit comes with the Alphacool Lang 5.25 inch single base station reservoir and the Lang DDC 1T pump. I did find it quite difficult to fit the pump with the mounting plate on the reservoir because of the little ridge at the back. I found it was a lot easier to fit if you first remove the mounting plate, and then also because without a lot of force it's difficult to get the pump fully into the res. I could use the ridge on the mounting plate to kind of force it and lock it securely into place. I decided that now was a good time to fit the compression fittings to the res, as it will be harder to do inside the case. The kit uses Alphacool's compression fittings. Fitting the res to the case is stiff as normal, but if you just force it hard enough it will go in. So now I'm going to fit the tubes inside the case. Normally I prefer the flow to go from the res to the block to the rad and then back to the reservoir, but because of the layout of the holes on the res I had to go in the other direction with the flow going from the res to the rad to the block and then back to the res. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why didn't I just turn the radiator the other way around. Firstly because I think that it looks better this way, but also because it's a lot easier to install on camera like this. If it was the other way around, there's a good chance my head would just keep constantly getting in the way. With this top tube, unfortunately I couldn't do it any shorter because it started to kink, but I think considering it doesn't look that bad. If you are new to water cooling, I know that you're tempted to do the compression fittings up really tight so that it won't leak, but if you do it too tight there's a chance that you could damage the thread and then it's just as likely to leak. What I'm going to do now is fill the loop. The kit comes with a power supply adapter for you to be able to power the pump, but instead I'm going to be using Phobia's 12V external power supply. The kit also comes with Alphacool's clear non-conductive coolant, and I'm going to be using this little squeezy bottle to fill it. I've also already removed the res cap and filled the case with tissue paper. What I'm going to be doing is filling the res up as high as possible with coolant, then turning the pump on, letting the level of the liquid drop to just above the pump intake hole, turning the pump off, refilling it with coolant and then repeating the process. And I'm going to be repeatedly checking the tissue paper just to make sure there isn't any leaks. I have actually run into a problem at this point where the pump is on but nothing is happening, which means that there must be a really massive air bubble trapped inside. So what I'm going to do is put the res cap back on and shake it until the air bubble goes. I am doing it quite gently, but because it's sped up it does look quite violent. After a while the air bubble did go and the coolant started to flow through the loop as normal. After a while I did get another air bubble though because of the poor design of the res. If this res is filled more than about 80%, it means that if there's any air trapped inside, it's impossible for it to leave. So I did have to shake it again, but after a while that air bubble went as well, and I managed to continue to fill the loop like normal. So this is what it should look like if the pump is working properly, and this is the tubes full of coolant. Normally there would be a lot of bubbles in there at this point, but it seems that my shaking has got rid of the majority of them. What I'm going to do now is leave it leak testing and let it get rid of any remaining bubbles. Then I'm going to test its performance. After it had finished leak testing, I ran my i5 3570K overclocked to 4.6 GHz at 1.35 volts on prime for 30 minutes, and the 4 core temps that I got were 49, 61, 61 and 54 degrees, giving me an average temperature of 56.25 degrees. Minusing the room temperature, which at the time was 17.3 degrees, the Cool Answer kit got a final delta CPU temp of 38.95 degrees. Moving on to the conclusion, the Cool Answer kit got a delta temp of roughly 39 degrees with the stock fans running at 1300 RPM. Now I did notice that it made a loud ticking noise and I would just recommend replacing them, but I do think that with some better quality fans you get better temps. Although obviously, as expected, it did completely walk over a closed loop solution like a H100. Now, when I go to give any product an award, I start with 5 stars and minus a star for anything negative that I don't like. And for me, this kit had 2 issues. The first one is the fans. Now, I think that Alphacool should either include better fans and increase the price of the kit a little bit, or just get rid of the fans and decrease the price of the kit. Because the sort of person that wants a custom loop wants good fans, but I have heard that they're looking into changing them. The second problem that I've got with this kit is the res. Now, I do think that Alphacool need to rethink their fill port design. Because the fill port is kind of recessed, it does cause some issues during the filling process, and it does make it harder to get rid of air bubbles. Another thing I don't like is, I really think that Alphacool need to work on the finish of the res. I mean, I'm a little bit perfectionist, but it does kind of irritate me how messy it is. But, you know, just for those reasons, I think I'm going to be awarding the Cool Answer kit 3 stars. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad kit. I mean, it is generally a good kit, and I would recommend it to people. It's just that, looking at water cooling as a category, the kit isn't perfect, and it just for the reasons that I touched on, it stops it from being able to get 4 stars. But that was my review of the Cool Answer 360 DDC kit. If you liked the video, if you found it helpful, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.